Welcome to episode 68 of In Touch with iOS, a podcast that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, and related technologies plus tips, apps, and gear. I'm your host, Dave Ginsburg. And yes, this week was the Apple event. They had all kinds of great announcements that occurred this past week. It was on Tuesday, September 10th. And boy, I was just absolutely amazed at what was announced. Didn't expect an iPad, didn't expect an Apple Watch. Of course, we expected the iPhone, and I'm going to talk in depth about that and my thoughts on that. So we'll talk about that today as far as the event goes. I have some news stories I wanted to go over real quick and talk about what happened in the news this past week, because there was some other news besides the Apple event. Then we'll dig right into the Apple event, and then we'll see where we go from there. I also wanted to touch upon a little bit with the iPhone upgrade program as well as the Apple trade-in program. There is a lot of confusion about that and how to get your phone upgraded and all that fun stuff. So, but let's just go right into the news here. I have this link in the show notes on The Verge. The Verge has had an article about Apple Music. You now can actually listen to Apple Music on the web. I was very pleased to see this, and I'm not surprised at all that this is possibly going to be happening, and maybe this could be really the demise of iTunes, is because they're moving Apple Music. Not only it's going to be separated in Catalina from iTunes, there now is going to be a streaming version of it on the web. So if you go to beta.music.apple.com and you sign in with your Apple Music account, you will have your full interface on here, which is really cool. I was able to play the music, had all my playlists that are synced already originally through iTunes. So I have access to all of my music, as well as, of course, all the music that you have, millions of songs you already have access to already as it is. And it looks like it works. It was working fine in most of the browsers. I tried it in Chrome and I tried it in Safari, of course. Those both worked. Had a little bit of a challenge with Firefox, but it could have been just more so the security settings that changed in Firefox on that browser. But all in all, it was a good experience, and I'm super happy that they did this. So kudos to Apple to get that out there, and that means also you are going to be able to do this on Windows. So if you are a Windows user, of course none of us are here, of course, but you will be able to go on there, as well as Chrome OS. You could browse to this site and be able to listen to your music if you have a Chromebook. So check it out. Again, I'll have the link to the article in the show notes, and that'll be there as well. Another article that caught my eye was I was very surprised to see, but not too terribly surprised, is the streaming music services have grown 26% in the first half of 2019. This article was on Apple on the appleworld.today website. I have a link there as well. And this was reported from the RIAA. We love that those folks, the Record Industry Association of America, and had this interesting bar graph here. It actually was a pie chart, and showing where the revenues have come from as far as music goes. So streaming was 80%. Well, it's like, holy cow, that's 80% of the people are buying music, or buying it from or listening to it from a streaming service. Then you got digital downloads and physical purchase like CDs and such at only 9%. And it's pretty impressive to see where things are going. And this is not at all surprised with all the advent of all of the different services that have been out there with when it comes to music, and with Apple Music and with Tidal and with Spotify and Stitcher Radio and all those other services with music. So definitely interesting information out there. I was very, very pleased to see that. The other story that caught my eye was there was a message. This was back on September 6th. Apple actually released this statement on their newsroom link on their site here, talking about the article that was published by Google about vulnerabilities that Apple had fixed for iOS users back in February, but they also heard from customers saying that they had concerns that the claims were not all there with the facts. It was a sophisticated attack, and it was very narrowly focused. So there were a lot of websites that were being used through the relating to the I'm going to probably say this wrong, the Uyghur community, which is, a very small bit of population that people be going to these websites. There was a couple of websites that had some vulnerabilities, and Google's post, which was issued 6 months after the patches were released, created false impression of the mass exploitation to monitor the private activities of the entire population in real time. So really, what they did was they struck fear in all iPhone users all over the world because of these small little sites. I think this was uh, kind of a crazy thing on Google's part by doing this. They did fix the vulnerabilities that are in question, and Apple definitely works hard in keeping security in place. So check out that article. It was like I said, it was definitely an interesting read. And Apple is really good with iOS security. I could tell you that for a fact because I work with it all the time, and they keep these devices secure. So I'm not at all worried about it, and I wouldn't worry about it either. But I thought it would be important to bring to everybody's attention that was out there. So, yeah, this is just a crazy thing here, and and let's go ahead and move on to the discussions of the day here, which was the Apple event. So the Apple event was on, as I said, it was on Tuesday, the 10th of September, and they had some great, interesting discussions. So I'm going to kind of go through some of the discussions, what they announced during the event in order that it was announced. So interesting to say they really were stressing hardware, software, and services. Services is going to be a big thing with Apple right now. So I'm very going to be very interested to see how these services go. Of course, Apple News was released earlier this year with a bit of fanfare. I'm still subscribing to the News app, and yeah, it's got great subscriptions for magazines and such. So it's going to be interesting to see where that goes. So the first thing that was announced was the Apple Arcade. So Apple Arcade, of course, is a service that's going to be available for you gamers out there. And they did a demonstration with a Frogger app, which I thought was kind of cool. We've all played Frogger, I would assume, right? With going back into the 80s and 90s. So there's going to be over 100 games at the start. So all these 100 games will be accessible, and I interested to see how it goes. Again, like I said, I'm not a gamer, so I don't know if I'll necessarily stay subscribed to it because of that reason. But I'll check it out. One of the cool things is it is going to get released on September 19th as I record this, so that's only about 8 days from now. And the price is only going to be $4.99 a month, and that's also going to include your family, so you can have up to 6 users as part of your family to be able to check that out. Also, what Apple did was they're offering a 1-month free trial, which I thought was really cool. So giving you a whole month to be able to play these games and check them out. So that in itself I thought was pretty cool. But again, I don't know where I would be on this after the 1 month. I'm gonna of course try it out for everybody, and we'll check it out, see how it goes. But we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes with the Apple Arcade. I definitely see it to be something interesting for sure, and where that goes. And then the next thing they talked about was Apple TV Plus. There were a lot of speculation that Apple was going to be having this pretty high price on it, and seeing where it goes. Of course, Disney Plus came out not too long ago, and you get all these other services that are part of it. I know Disney was bundling up with Hulu, and then looking at other things as well. But really, I think what Apple's doing is they're trying to compete with the worlds of Netflix and Amazon Prime, because both of those services, of course, have original content. Well, of course, Hulu does too, so I guess you would probably include them as well. So at the release of Apple TV, which is actually is slated to start on November 1st, so we got a little time yet before that comes out. That is going to have at least 12 original shows, which includes ones like with Jennifer Aniston and Reese Witherspoon, and a number of other shows. I'll have a link to the show notes of the actual site, Apple Plus, and you'll be able to see that firsthand. But I don't know. I don't know how well is it going to do. It's going to be interesting. The pricing is very interesting. It's going to be $4.99 a month, and there is a 7-day trial. But the interesting thing that they did talk about was the fact that you can get a full year free if you purchase any device from Apple, whether that be an iPod Touch, which I was really surprised about, an Apple TV, of course. You can buy a Mac, you can buy an iPad, you can buy an iPhone, of course, and I'll be buying my iPhone pretty soon here. you'll get a free full year of service with this. So they're really banking on trying to get people to get hooked and really love these shows. And it's obvious that's where Apple's looking at with services, that they're really putting some serious amounts of money into original content shows that are going to be there. So there'll be a link in the show notes as far as all the different items that'll be available for you to be able to view. So check that out. I think it'd be cool. So then the next announcement that happened, which I was very surprised, but I did kind of find out about it during rumor time, was Apple TV. Not Apple TV, excuse me, Apple TV. It was the iPad. There was a new iPad that was announced. It's a 7th generation. It's now got a 10.2 inch screen. So this is actually replacing the 6th gen, which was the entry level iPad, which a lot of people are buying because it's such a great entry level device, and people don't want to spend a lot of money on an iPad. It can be had for $300 or less. I mean, during Christmas time, I remember the previous version was being sold for as little as $250. So it's definitely an affordable entry-level iPad to get people in to use it. It does have the A10 chip, and that's the little lower-end processor than some of the other devices have these days, of the A12 and A13. But the one cool thing they did do, and this wasn't on the previous models, they did include the smart connector. So that means you can use the Apple's keyboard and any other device that utilizes that smart connector instead of a Bluetooth keyboard, because I know that's a lot of folks be like, I don't want to have to worry about this keyboard. It doesn't stay attached and all that. So that was a good thing they did. Of course, the pencil already worked with the previous one. It's going to work with this one. It was just a very pleased. I was pleased to hear that they announced this, and it's definitely going to be I think a winner for folks that are looking for a really inexpensive but decent iPad. I mean, if you look at the line in the iPad, you have the iPad, and then you have the iPad Air, then you have the iPad Mini. Of course, those were the lower end models, which all have the Touch ID and the Lightning connector. But then you have the Pro series. Of course, I have the Pro. Pro is a real nice model, and those are all the USB-C connectors as far as that goes as well. So that was a really cool thing that they did. I was very, very pleased to see that as well. And then another surprise for me, as it was as well, I didn't think they were going to do it, was the announcement of a new Apple Watch, the Series 5. There was a lot of discussion about the Series 5 when it comes to the health apps. They are also going to have a Apple Research app that people are going to be able to subscribe to participate, because they did last year. They did the Apple Health Survey, which I did, and monitoring your heart rate and all the other things with health. And then health is a big thing with the Apple Watch. So the couple things that really I'm thinking this watch is more of a Series 4.5, because there's not a ton of changes that was added to it. When it comes to the features, one of the biggest features was an always-on Retina display. Now they're going to have that out, and it'll stay on all the time. They've increased battery life, so now it's going all-day battery life, which the battery life was already great as it was. They did now actually add a compass to the watch, which is definitely a cool thing. But I have my iPhone with me all the time, so it usually isn't a problem for me when it comes to using a compass. But a lot more people are wanting to have these small devices. I usually buy the one without the cellular, but of course you'll be able to get one with cellular if you want. Another feature that they did add, which was pretty cool, was international calling that's available. You now can press the side button and make an emergency call on the Apple Watch in 150 different countries. So you weren't able to do that before as well. So pricing is going to start at $399. That's the 40 millimeter face, all the way up to you can go all the way to $1,200, because they also added some new Apple Watch faces as well. So you're gonna have a ceramic as well as a titanium choice, which of course is going to add to the price. You'll be able to get a Hermes band. But the coolest thing in the world, the coolest thing that they did, was they now have an Apple Watch Studio on the website. So now you actually can customize what band you want, what face you want. Like in the aluminum series, I would get the space gray, but you can get the other different colors too if you want. But now you can customize it. That was always my biggest pet peeve with the Apple Watch, was the fact that I want to buy this watch, but you have to get it with a black band, a black sport band, or you got to get it with Milanese band, or it had just limitations. Now you can get whichever band you so choose and be able to customize it and be able to pick that up. Um, so all the other features are there with it as well. They've enhanced Siri. You stay connected with cellular. Of course, Watch OS 6 is going to be released. I'll be talking about the OS updates in a bit here. So that was definitely a interesting announcement when it came to that. And then there was the iPhone 11. Now, iPhone 11, we were not surprised that was going to be coming out. But what they've done is they've come out with 3 models. It's the iPhone 11, it's the iPhone 11 Pro, and then you have the iPhone 11 Pro Max. So you have 3 different phones here, and they're all broken down by different sizes. The 11, which is going to be the low-end model, pricing starts at around $699, which you tell me, if you ask me, there's no bargain in the world as far as that goes, and being able to get a phone for less than that cost is pretty impressive. I was very surprised that they're doing a lot of lower in pricing here. So then you have the 11, the iPhone 11 Pro, which is also going to be available as well. That is it's a smaller version phone, but it's got the higher Retina display. So you'll be able to get a 3-lens camera, which is got a wide angle, a telephoto, and a ultra wide angle, and 3 lenses. And so photographers that are out there are absolutely going to love this phone. You're going to have all those features in there between both of them. They also added a midnight green color, which I was very, very pleased to see. A different color. I may actually go away from my norm, because I usually get the space gray, and in this case, this is pretty cool. So it's an actual midnight green color. So capacities they have, as I said, the 11 is a 6.1 inch size screen, whereas the 11 Pro is a 5.8 inch screen. But you have a Super Retina XDR display, which is cool. And with that, so that itself makes it a much bigger display if you really think about it. And size-wise, as far as capacity goes, in these phones, you'll have 64 gigabytes, 256, or 512. And you definitely will have amazing experience with this phone. It has all the phones in the 11 have the A13 Bionic chip, so it's the next generation chip. And other features that were added include night mode, so they are competing with the Google Pixel, who came out with that a while ago. They did a demonstration with the night mode, very cool, being able to do that. You'll be able to do even higher end video recording in 4K. They do have a thing called Quick Take, which is Quick Take video, which is with subject tracking, and they've coined a new phrase as far as doing a selfie. Now they have what's called a slowfie, so you can now do a slow motion video of yourself, and it's now called a slowfie. So very, very impressive as far as what's going to be available with this camera. Of course, they both have Face ID. You'll have Apple Pay. You'll be able to use your Apple credit card. Availability wise, actually, you'll be able to pre-order as you listen to this. The pre-orders will be they'll take it on September 13th. You can do it on the Apple app on your iPhone or your iPad, of course, or you can go online and go onto the website and do a pre-order there. It's going to be at 5 a.m. Pacific time on the 13th. And then for those of you who are in the Apple trade-in program, or I should say the Apple upgrade program, that's what I'm in, you actually can pre-approve yourself and get everything all set to go and have it ready to ship to you before the actual time that you have to actually place the order. So then all you have to do is go there at my time, and of course it'd be about 7 a.m. Central Time, which is a lot better than it had been in the past, because it was always I remember always having to get up at 2 a.m. to place orders for all the Apple stuff. But in this case, you won't have to worry. You'll be able to order the phone very quickly. So it was a very impressive phone. I was very pleased to see what they've done. with the phone itself. And couple other things I'll say they did add was it does have much longer battery life. It's got 5 hours of extended battery life with the iPhone 11s. That was the 11 Pro Max. We'll get up to 5 hours. The 11 Pro will get up to 4 hours compared to the previous model, the 10R and the 10S and the 10S Max. So that's pretty cool. They're also going to include a fast charge adapter with the phone, so it'll have a 18-watt charger, but it'll be fast charge, so you'll get to be able to charge your phone a lot quicker than you were before. And there was just so many other things I could go over and talk about, but it was very interesting with the iPhones. So as far as models that are going to be available now throughout the iPhone line, they are keeping the iPhone 8. So I thought that was very interesting, the fact that they kept the iPhone 8, and that's going to start at $449. They're keeping the iPhone 10R, which is also a very good a very good iPhone. And you will definitely be able to get that at a decent price. That's at $599. But to me, the good sweet spot is the iPhone 11. So you can go to the iPhone 11, and it starts at $699. So they've really got some good pricing with these models in the mid line of the iPhone. Now the iPhone 11 Pro, of course, is going to be a lot more money. It's going to be at $999. That's the smaller version, and then the Pro Max, which is the one I'll go with, starts at $1099. So you're definitely going to have some choices as far as that goes, and I would definitely check it out. So. One of the things that I get a lot of questions about is, and I've talked about this before, and I was going to bring up a little bit, is the fact of that folks always are asking me, do I need to upgrade? Should I have to upgrade? Really, should you upgrade? And my answer usually is the fact that if you have an older iPhone, let's say you have an iPhone 7 or an iPhone 6 or anything older than that, then you for sure should be in the market to be doing an upgrade. Spend the money. You'll be happy. You'll be able to keep this phone for this year for at least three years, and if not more. I mean, many people are keeping their iPhones for a fair amount of time. So if any of those old models, I'd say, yeah, it's probably a good idea to take a look at how upgrading. Now, if you have an iPhone 8, you're on a borderline here. So the iPhone 8 again is still being made, and Apple's still going to offer it. So you'll still have absolute opportunity to be able to still purchase it if you want to. Pricing is a lot less. So really, it all depends on your budget. So if you want to get into the iPhone for the first time, might not be a bad idea to look at something a little less expensive with the iPhone 8. Well, then you can move up to the 10R. So the 10R is a very good deal too, as someone who's looking in the entry level, wanting to spend a little less money. But like I said, I think the sweet spot is the iPhone 11. So if anybody has any of the other phones that were made that I didn't mention, like as of course I mentioned the 8, if you already own a 10R, if you already own a 10S, or you already own a 10S Max, there absolutely is no conceivable reason to upgrade. Me, I always upgrade because I have to have the latest and greatest. I love the iPhone, so I'm on the trade-in program, so that's something to take a look at too. So very a lot of great choices available, and as far as that pricing goes. So and definitely check that out. Now, there's two types of services that Apple actually offers. There's the iPhone upgrade program, and then there's the iPhone trade-in program. I want to review those two services first. I want to review those two services to kind of give you an idea of where Apple is when it comes to this type of stuff here. So the first one is the iPhone upgrade program, and this is the actually easiest way to be able to just do an upgrade. So you can actually go in and join that and be able to. So I get these two confused all the time. I got to make sure I give you the right information here. My apologies, but you have the iPhone upgrade program, and then you have the trade-in program. So I started with the upgrade program. So that's the program that I'm part of. The upgrade program is where you buy a phone and you're able to after 1 year, be able to trade it in and upgrade the latest model. That's what I'm going to do. So I'll be able to trade in my phone. So what happens is when you sign up for the service, of course you have to join. You have to get a credit check. They'll use Apple's bank, which is Citizens One Bank. You'll pick the phone that you want. They'll go through a process of which one that you want and do that stuff, and you select which one you want, and then what you would do is you would go through the process, and then you'll get a credit check for the phone the phone which you want to purchase, and then you'll get approved, and then you'll be able to go in and either you'll have it shipped to you or you'll have it purchased, and then you'll make payments each month, and the payments can range anywhere from $30 all the way up to $60, depending on the phone that you purchase. And you'll be able to do that. And I've been on this. I've been on this program for, gosh, they've had this at least the last 3 to 4 years. So I've done it since the iPhone 8, and I think it's a great deal. And the great thing is, if you decide, I don't want to upgrade right now, I want to keep paying for this phone, well, you can do that. You keep the phone, and it's set for another year, and then you'll pay it off after 2 years, and then you'll own the phone. And then if you choose later that you want to trade it in, well, that's where the trade-in program comes into play. Now, Apple's been very, very generous as of late trading in phones here. And if you go to their website, again, I'm going to have links to both these services in the show notes. Let's say you have a 10s Max. If you're going to trade, if I were to trade that in instead of just if I would trade in and pay it off as opposed to just trading it in, this trade-in will be a price at around $600. So if you want to get the 10s, it's $500, and so on and so forth. So they have a list of all phones all the way down to the iPhone 6s and the 6s Plus. So they'll give you $100 for towards the purchase of another phone right off the bat. So all you have to do is you click the link, shop for the phone, and then you go through and you're able to trade it in. Very simple. And it was always a challenge with trade-in because every time I would do it before the upgrade program, I would turn around and sell my phone, whether it be on like a Craigslist or an eBay or whatever. And you tend to get a little more money for it, but there's a lot more work involved when it comes to trying to sell it. So I think Apple's been very generous as far as what they're giving for these phones these days. I mean, I know I worked with a couple people when they were getting their phones. He traded in an iPhone 7. I think they gave him $70 for it. Actually, this one they're still doing this of iPhone 7 now, so it was up to $150. So you definitely have some decent credit towards purchasing the new phones. So because Apple wants you to get on the newer phones. That's really the case, and they're doing that for the tablets, for iPads, as well as for Apple Watch. And you can trade in any of these devices and be able to get cash for it and towards the purchase of a new one. So let me go back with some of the dates and when things are going to be able to be ordered, as well as I'm going to review iOS 13 and iPadOS, because there was a bit of a confusion about that because Apple did release the 13.0, which is the beta, and that's going to be Gold Master. That's probably going to be the one released, as well as 13.1, which is beta. So I'll go over that in a bit. But I just want to go over. I'm going to review again some of the dates because I probably forgot or maybe not have got to each one of the devices, and we'll let you know. So again, we just talked about the iPhone. So the iPhone 11, the iPhone 11 Pro, and the iPhone 11 Pro Max. Pre-orders will be at 5 a.m. Pacific on September 13th. And like I said, that's a time change from previous pre-orders. So for me, I'm in Central Time Zone. I don't have to get up until 7 a.m. to do it, which is awesome. In stores and deliveries will be on September 20th. So they'll have everything they will have it delivered to you by that Friday the 20th, just like in the past. Now the 7th generation iPad, which is the 10.2 inch model, which I talked about. The pre-orders occurred actually on the 10th, so you can pre-order right now. and it will be in stores and delivered on September 30th. And I think a lot to do with that date is because of the fact of iPadOS won't be released until September 30th, so they can't be ready for it yet. So now the Apple Watch Series 5, that was also being able to be pre-ordered on the 10th when it was announced, and you can do that now. And then the pre-orders, of course, will happen on that date, and then it'll be in stores and delivered to everybody on September 20th. So now, here are some of the confusing things with the iOS. So, as everybody knows, there's iOS 13 and there's iPadOS. They separated out those two operating systems. So, iOS 13 as of today, 13.0 is what's called Gold Master. Whenever they identify that, that's when developers say that that's the final release that's going to get released to the public. That's going to get released on September 19th. So right now, iOS 13.1 is out, and I believe it's in beta 3. And it's in public beta as well as in developer beta, which is probably one of the most strangest things I've seen Apple do in a long time, when they would release a beta version of the next increment of an OS. They would just release like the .0 version, and then .1 would come out a little later in time. So with that, iOS 13.1, that release date is on September 30th. So that's also coinciding with iPadOS, which is the release date is the 30th as well. But one of the confusing things is we don't know as of yet is the version of iPadOS going to be 13.0 or 13.1? We don't know. So there's your confusions right there with that. Now, some of the other features that were being added to iOS and iPadOS, and I'll definitely be doing future episodes and talking about what iOS and iPadOS is going to be doing. This will be later in the fall after these are all released. The first thing, which I'm super excited about, is AirPods and audio sharing. You are now going to be able to audio share, and this will be with any Bluetooth devices. 2 different Bluetooth devices can be connected at the same time on an iPad or an iPhone, let's say. And a good example is, and I've done this plenty of times with my wife, we don't want to take an iPad, we want to be able to listen to it together. Well, back before, when you had the headphone jack, you would get a little adapter that had 2 plugs, and you would plug 2 earphones in, and we'd be able to watch the movie with 2 headphones. Well, now AirPods will now be able to do audio sharing. That's coming later this year. Now, my understanding is the AirPods that will only work are going to be the current generation, not the previous generation AirPods. So be aware of that. HomeKit, no, they did announce during the Worldwide Developers Conference that the secure video and routers were going to be available, so you can actually monitor secure videos if you have like a surveillance system and such. That's going to come later in the fall as well. And then the other thing, which I was super excited about, of course, I was real excited when they added the thumb drive storing of files, being able to plug a thumb drive into an iPad and be able to copy files onto iPad or iPhone onto this thumb drive with iOS 13. That will be available at release, but they're also going to be allowing it in the future is iCloud Drive folder sharing, which is super exciting. I'm definitely super stoked to see how that's going to work when it comes to that. The HomePod and AirPlay 2 in scenes and automations. If you're using scenes and automations in HomeKit, you'll be able to use that on the HomePod, which will be pretty cool. Screen time communications limits will be released, and announced messages with Siri will also be released as well. Some of the HomePod features that are going to be added. You have radio station support. That's super exciting because now you can be able to use your HomePod and be able to have radio stations to be able to listen to just by asking. And tvOS 13 is going to be released on September 30th. So check that out. That's going to be coming soon. And then watchOS is going to be released on September 19th. So that's coming in 8 days. And I'm very surprised the fact that watchOS 6 is going to be released for all the versions, Series 1 through Series 5, of course. But Series 1 and Series 2 will not be released at release date. It's going to be later in the fall for those 2 older watches. But they will they will be available. So that's pretty exciting. A lot of things, and that was a lot I went over. So as far as that goes, watch out for that. And, and also a HomePod. There was 2 other features I neglected to mention. It's going to have a music handoff and ambient sounds. So you'll be able to do those as well when it comes to that. So a lot of stuff I talked about today, and I thought, well, this is going to be a nice short and sweet episode this time because there was just a lot to absorb. And I will have another show next week, and my guest will be Chuck Joyner, and he'll be coming back to the show, and we'll have a lot more to talk about. So I hope you enjoyed what I had to talk about today with the Apple event. There was a lot to go over, and I don't think anybody really wants to be listening to 2 hours because that's what it was, almost 2 hours of discussion. So with that, let's go ahead and wrap up the show here. Thanks. That is a wrap for this week. So please send your comments, questions, and suggestions. And if you have any suggestions at all, or even questions, or anything, if you like the show with me giving you just the tips and things going on, please send that to our email address at feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Twitter at intouchwithios. You can subscribe in your favorite podcatcher, including Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, Spotify, TuneIn Radio, and we just got added, I'm very excited, to iHeartRadio. So if you go to iHeartRadio.com, you'll also be able to listen to us on there. I was just added. But better yet, go ahead and go to our website at intouchwithios.com, where all the links to all the ways to listen to us are there. I am Dave Ginsburg, and you can find me on Twitter at DaveG65. Thanks again for listening. I hope you enjoyed the show, and I will talk to you again soon.